Should be showing. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. We had a brief, I think, a 2-week break here because of the holidays. And we're back on track again. Two preliminary items, if I may. Number one, we have on our website, on the Ask the Expert website, let's pop in there together, a survey that everyone can take in order to vote for future sessions. So let's go into the Ask the Expert of the Learning Center. And we're going in right now. Enrolling me in the course. Okay, so everybody sees here, if you log into this page, you can choose here for future sessions, and you can choose an existing one that already is here, or you can type in a different topic of your choice, and we'd be glad to have a session on whatever topics everyone is interested in. Okay, that's number one. Number two, a little plug for another future session, which is not part of the Ask the Expert, but also an important session, and that's going to be about OBIEE, the Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition. We've upgraded for May. It's not going to be part of the May release that comes out the first Sunday of May. It's going to be a gradual release throughout May. By the end of May, all environments should have the OBIEE 11.1.1.7, which is going to influence the Alma analytics. Many of the things people have been requesting in analytics will now be possible because we've upgraded the OBI. So that's 2 points. This should be in your calendar. There's 2 sessions on Monday, May 26th. This is just a little note to make sure it's in your calendars, and anyone who's interested, please attend. Okay, with that said, we're ready to begin the official Ask the Expert session on Patron blocks. We have here 9 questions, right? From slide 3 to 11 should be 9 questions. Okay, or 8 questions. Anyway, let's begin. Now, first question. Is it possible to make patron blocks, e.g., borrower suspended, invoice sent to finance, or temporary ban on borrowing, actually stop a patron's account from having books issued to it at the counter? The exceptions box, which shows when these sort of blocks have been added to an account, can be overridden or okayed on everyone's Alma login. Okay, so let's talk about 2 things here. Adding another patron block with a library-defined text and the override. Now, there are 2 types of blocks. There are blocks which are system-defined or system-created, and there are blocks which are librarian-defined or library-created. In other words, a block which will be that a patron is allowed to loan 4 items and make 5 physical item hold requests is a system block. I'm going to mute people. Sorry about that. I always say I don't want to sound like a 3rd grade teacher, but unless I mute everybody, it's going to be a problem. All right, I'll give you one more chance, like the 3rd grade teacher. I won't mute you now, but if I hear more talking, I'm going to mute you. Okay, and then we're going to stay in for recess. Okay, anyway, so there's 2 types of blocks. Those that are defined by the system. A guy gets to 3 loans and his limit is 3, he's going to be blocked from making a 4th. The other type of block is the block that the library defines and adds manually to the patron. Let's look at this one here. They want to add a text. That's going to be defined by the library, and then we'll look at the override. So, first of all, these blocks, which are made by the library, are typically defined at the time of implementation And then throughout the many years of having Alma, the library may here and there want to change the text of one, add one, delete one, etc. This needs to be done by Ex Libris staff. It's a configuration which is not open to everybody, even to those people who have passed the certification training. There's various reasons which we're not going to get into as to which tables are open and are not open as of right, and it has been changing over the time. As of now, parts of these tables are closed. We're going to look at them anyway so that you'll know even what to ask if you ask, can we get one added or removed? Okay, so first of all, we're going to go look at a table here called user block description. And in user block description, we have, as the table appropriately is called, descriptions of our blocks. We've got one here. Someone was caught with food or beverages in the rare manuscripts room. Another one bothers circulation desk staff. So somebody here wants to add one, borrower suspended, invoice sent to financing, or temporary ban on borrowing. Let's call this temporary ban on borrowing. Okay. Because borrower suspended, invoice sent to finance, there's a whole nother story with fines. We can set maximum fines and have it automatically block. We're going to talk about that later. So anyway, right now we're going to add another one here. We'll just call this 62, the code, just to keep it sequential. Temporary ban on borrowing. And do we want this to be the default or not? Doesn't really matter. Add this row. Okay, so now we have added a new block called temporary ban on borrowing. And we'll save this. Let that save. It's saving it real good, taking a little bit of time to make sure it's saved, and it's saved. Okay, so now we have another table saying, when I block something, what is really being blocked? Am I blocking loans? Am I blocking renews? Am I blocking booking requests? Am I blocking loans and renewals? So we're going to look at that in the mapping tables here. And that's called, also appropriately enough, block-to-blocked actions. Now, typically, this is a standard among all installations. 1, 2, and 3. 1 is going to be blocking loans. We're going to see where this comes into play in a moment. 2 blocks the loans and the renews. 3 blocks the loans, the renews, and the holds. And we can put in an option 4, which would also block booking when we first developed Alma, way, way back, which actually started in 2007, if you can believe it or not. That's when we first came up with the concrete ideas of a unified resource management. In any case, so we added recently blocked action 4 when we added the bookings. So if we're going to want to use this new one, which we added now, to only block loans, we're going to give it 1. If we want to block loans and renews, 2, etc. Okay, save that. We actually don't have to save it. All we did is look at it. We'll cancel it. Okay, so that's what 1, 2, and 3 do. Now, what is open to the library? What we showed up until now are definitions done by Ex Libris staff. Now we're moving to what is open to the libraries. So we're going to go to the Fulfillment Configuration menu, and then to User Block Definitions. Here under Patron Configurations, User Block Definitions, pop in there, here we go. So these are the blocks we already have. And here's the one we just added now, temporary ban on borrowing. This is the one just 2 moments ago we added this. Temporary ban on borrowing, we added it because that's what's in the question here. Here it is. We'll give this an ID. Now comes the blocked action. This is where it corresponds to the table we looked at a moment ago. Block-to-blocked actions, 1 for loans, 2 for loans and renews, 3 for loans, renews, and hold requests. So the name of the block is temporary ban on borrowing, so we're going to assume that it's going to be 1. Usually, it's really not going to matter if we say and renew, because if he can't loan, he's not going to have too much to renew anyway. And if no sense in him making a hold request if he's not going to be able to loan it anyway. So we've got that in here. Type is not going to influence the behavior of the system, but can be used later on, for example, in analytics, which we are going to look at shortly, if somebody wants to do a retrieval of these blocks. I'm just going to make this a loan. Okay. Overridable. This goes into the second question. Overridable, can everybody override it? Can no one override it? Can only the circ desk operator? Let's say none for now. We're going to make it simple. We're going to choose the all or none because we do have a question later on the specific people who are allowed to override. Okay, let's say none and save. Ooh, what didn't I do? I didn't do something that a lot of people don't do. And it wasn't even on purpose. I won't even pretend I did it on purpose. I forgot to click Add Row. People are probably out there in the audience smiling, saying, gosh darn it, I've done that myself a million times. So now I'm going to click the Add Row, and now we've added it. General, oh, this should be temporary ban on borrowing. Okay, so now we've added it. General, temporary ban on borrowing. No overrides, blocked action 1, save. Great. Now we're talking about the system defined, the library defined. These are blocks which are defined by the library. They're not based on patron limits, like how much he can owe, how many loans he can do, etc. This is a block given by the library. So let's give it to somebody. Let's retrieve a patron or two. This is primarily an Australia crowd right now. I'm not for sure how familiar you are with the Brady Bunch, but let's choose one of the Bradys. Let's take Jan or Marsha. Let's take Marsha Brady. Looks like Marsha already has a block. Yeah, oh, Marsha always bothers staff at the reference desk. Let's remove that one from Marsha, and let's give her a different one. Okay, so here's Marsha. Add a block, and here's the one we just added, temporary ban on borrowing. Now we can add a note. Let's add a note, and then we'll be able to see where it appears. Temporary ban on borrowing. Consistently talked out loud in the quiet area of the reading room, even after being warned. Okay. So now we've given her a block. Add and close. Now she should be blocked from loaning, and nobody should be able to override because it has 0, 1, which is for loan, and we said override none. Save. And let's give this a try now. I'm at a circulation desk. We're going to loan. We'll choose Brady M. Marsha. Beautiful. First of all, she's overdone her cash limit. And this one here is the one we just added. Now, this is a nice unplanned but nice example. We have both kinds of blocks here. We have a system-defined block. This is by the system. Once she gets to $40 US, she's going to be blocked. That's defined by the system. The librarian doesn't have to come and say, wait a minute, Marsha owes more than $40, I'm going to block her. The system will automatically do that. This block here, because she was talking out loud in the quiet area of the reading room even after being warned, that's a librarian-defined block, one that the library had to come and give her. I'm going to cancel this, and just for the fun of it, Let's pay Marcia's fine, or at least part of it. We'll do a partial payment. By the way, I can still click OK here, and that just brings me into the area here so I can see her loans, see her requests, see the history of her returns, and, of course, pay. So she's allowed $40. Oop, look at that. Nice pop-up. And we're going to pay here now, let's see, 470 minus 40 is 30. I'm going to pay her 31 US dollars. Just so she won't be fined. Now she only owes, what's 70 minus 31? 29. Okay, now she's only got one block. One block, and it's not overridable. Everyone sees here, let's take a little picture. I cannot override this block. So, let's just put that here. Everyone sees there is no override. If, however, I come along now, we go back to the Fulfillment Configuration menu, back to the user block definitions, and this time we're going to say temporary ban, this time by all. It is overridable by all. Save. We give that a try one more time. Marcia Brady. Look at that. Now I have an override button. Now I can override. Here, my previous picture, I have no override. So that's the override. Okay, so that should answer, is it possible to make patron blocks, stop a patron's account from having books issued at a counter? Yes, as we saw. The exceptions box, which shows when these sort of boxes have been added to an account, can be overridden or okayed on everyone's Alma login. It can only be overridden if we have all, or you have operator or manager or whatever the options are there, which we're going to talk about later. We saw here that if we have none, it cannot be overridden. Okay. Are there any questions or comments or anything from the audience? I see more people have joined since we last left. Any questions or comments? 19 minutes of Ask the Expert and not one question or comment. Very interesting. Is everyone still with us? Is the communication okay? Can you raise your hand if you hear us all right? Okay, the hands are going up. How about you, Margaret? Unilink, Yiran, Binzang, you hear us okay? I didn't see your hands. Bronwyn? If people are missing the raise hand, take a look here. You see this? The raise hand should be right here. Right here. Okay, that's just in case someone didn't know where the raise the hand is. All right, let's move on. Next. Back to our PowerPoint. Okay. Is there a global block override per circ instance, or does each transaction within a circ instance need to be overridden? Okay. We'll do a quick demo of this, but every time you do override, it overrides only for that patron who you just tried to loan. It won't do it for other patrons, and it won't do it for the same patron even in the same session. Let's see what we mean. So, first of all, right now we can override Marcia Brady. So let's override her. Marcia B. Okay, I'm going to override. And now I can loan to her several items. And each time I loan, let's loan this one, Studies in Library Automation. Okay. Now when I loan her the next item, I do not need to override again. It includes for this session. However, let's take the next one, the Complete Book of Inventory Management. Well, that's in the medical library. Let me take this one here in the main library. So now I'm loaning her 2 items. I did override once. Oh, that's a whole different one. That's the loan limit rules. That's not that she was talking loud in the quiet area. So I can loan one time, I can override one time, and it works the whole time through. However, if I choose her again, it's going to be blocked again, and I'm going to need to override. If I'm done here, I haven't done sign out, I'm not signing out. If I retrieve Marcia Brady again, I will again need to do the override. I need to override every time I retrieve, but the override does not include the entire time I'm signed in between my sign in and my sign out. Okay, and there is no way to say, I want always, all the time, to have it automatically override. You have to click override every time you retrieve a patron. Okay, that should answer that one pretty straight. Any questions or comments there? I'll look at the chat, send in a chat, start talking, raise your hand, whatever you prefer. Nothing. Let's move on. Okay, this one here, I'm either going to save for the end or not use it, this question. I did include it because someone sent it in and I didn't want to discriminate. However, this is a question in a network zone configuration. And I don't want to bore the people who are not in the network zone, so I'm going to save this one till the end or skip it entirely. And if you who sent it want your own private session, I'd be more than happy to. I'm always looking for a new reason to do another WebEx, so we can do this one in a separate way. Okay. Can you please provide an example of how the handlers work? Okay, this is a good one, and this was sent by 2 people. They worded it quite different, a bit different, but it came up more than once. Okay. So the handlers. First of all, let's see, what do we mean by a handler? A handler, we're going to go back to my fulfillment configuration menu, to the user, to the block preferences. Okay, these are the handlers. The third column, a handler. And some of the blocks here have handlers, some do not. The handler will be used only if handle automatically is chosen. In other words, if I do override by manager, the handler is irrelevant. If I do override by all, the handler is irrelevant. If I choose handle automatically, then the handler does come into play. So let's take a look at the handler on the item is currently on loan by another patron. Item is currently on loan by another patron. So right now, if I try to loan an item, and it's on loan already by another patron, then it's just going to be blocked. So first we're going to do this. Then in order to give an example of how the handler works, we're going to change this to handle automatically and see what happens. Okay. So right now we have item is currently on loan by another patron equals block. We're going to write this down, what we're doing here, so we keep order. So right now the block is, oh, look at that, I'm in caps lock. The block is, boom, equals block. Okay, the block, the blick, here we go. Now let's take Marcia again. Marcia has quite a bit of things out right now. Override, loans, all. And let's use an example, the complete book of, here's one, literature and recall, let's not use that one. Studies in library automation. Right now this is on loan. Boom is on loan to Marcia. try to loan it to, let's choose another Brady. So now we'll go Manage Patron Services, B-R-A-D-Y, and we'll take Jan. We're going to try to loan this to Jan. Item is currently on loan by another patron. It's blocked. Try to loan it to Jan, blocked. Now watch what's going to happen. Just excuse my spelling. Now we're going to change that handle. Fulfillment configuration menu, block preferences. So now it's not block, it's going to be handle automatically, and my handle is return the item and loan to the new patron. So now the block is handle automatically, and that's return and loan. We won't write out the whole thing here. So now we'll give it a try. We change this, save. Now we have handle automatically. Again, this is an example of how the handlers work. We're going to go again to Jan. Loan it. Now she has it. And if we go look at Marcia, who can guess what's going to happen? Somebody yell it out. Let's get some audience participation. Somebody yell it out. That's right, Shirley. Shirley just answered in a chat, a private chat. She said it's going to be returned from Marcia automatically. Watch this. So now we're going to go to Marcia. Go to her requests, excuse me, her loans, and it's no longer there. This barcode here, AU28504, is no longer here because it was automatically returned. Now, something else which is very interesting, if I go to returns and all, you will see here that it was returned. Right here, 4:23, that's today. 8:28 is 1 minute ago my time. It was returned automatically. And another interesting thing here, physical items, items, history, fulfillment activities. Here also you can see it was returned by the operator EXL support. In other words, the person who loaned it, we loaned it to Jan, and when we loaned it to Jan, it automatically got returned at the same exact time, or maybe a millisecond later, because the order of the actions is loan. That was the first action given to the system, but regardless, we don't have the nanoseconds in here anyway. It's just up to the minute. So the operator who loaned it is the same operator who returned it. Okay, anyway, so that's an example of the handlers. Are there any questions or comments there? Let's go to my participant list. Any questions or comments from anybody? Nothing. Everybody's still with us. An awfully quiet crowd today. Maybe people are still getting back into the swing of things after all these long vacations. How about a quick hand raise just to make sure everyone's still with us? Okay, Judith, Julie, Shirley, Yaron, Margaret, Bronwyn. How about you, Bin, Barbara, and Unilink? We didn't get a hand raise. Bin, Barbara, and Unilink. Okay, still nothing. All right, let's move on. Is there an override possible for items that have been declared lost but are being renewed by the patron. Okay, this one, I discussed this with 3 other colleagues, one from support, one from development, and one from product management, just to get an overview of what is being discussed here. And it seems to us like I don't want to use the word illogical because every library has their own needs and situations, but let's say an unclear request. In other words, if a patron declares that something is lost and then he wants to renew it, why should I be able to override it? Instead of overriding it, I should declare it found. Because if he's renewing it, obviously he has it and it's no longer lost. So the question again, and this is a quote of the question, is there an override possible for... All right, I'm going to do the the mute. Sorry, everybody. I'm just going to mute someone here. How do I mute everybody? Mute me? I don't want to mute myself. All right, I'm not going to mute you because I can't find it right now. Let's just see if we can mute your... Oh, someone else muted everybody for me. Thanks. Okay. For example, the question of why, if you're the person who wrote this and you want to clarify right now, go ahead. But if, let's take, for example, Jan. Jan comes along and says, hey, I lost this. We say, you lost it? Okay, well, thanks for letting us know, but you're going to have to pay for it. We have a fine and we have a replacement fee. And she says, okay, I understand. So I say, okay, lost. Boom. Okay, she's got the $50 replacement fee, the $10 fine. She owes $60 now. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay. Now, somebody is saying, is there an override possible for items that have been declared lost? I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, why should I be able now to do renew selected? If I'm renewing it, then it's no longer lost. And what should instead happen is she should say, I want to renew it. I found it. Then I would say, found item. And now she no longer owes the 60. Okay? Because 90% of the replacement fee will be refunded. That's a whole nother story, which we'll talk about another day perhaps. In any case, if you're the person or you want to expand on that question, feel free. But none of us here saw a need to have an override of the renew when it's lost, because the very fact that it's lost means there's nothing to renew. Okay. No questions or comments there. All right. This is either post-vacation situation or a tough topic. Quiet, very quiet crowd. Okay. Is there an option for a general patron block that does not relate to either the status of the patron record or the circ status of an item record? In other words, can we block the patron because we need to discuss something with them? Bad address, information, damaged item, etc. Okay. The answer is yes, and that would be like number 1. Number 1 was where we took a patron. Let's see if we got a clean patron here. Who's clean? Bobby. Bobby Brady was always a good kid. All right, so let's say we want to block Bobby. We can always block Bobby. Let's go into his record. I'm clicking his ID. I'm going to the blocks. I can always add a block here from one of these, and this is going to work according to the 1, the 2, the 3, etc. And if it's that you just want to discuss something with them, then you can call this, instead of temporary ban on borrowing, needs to come to the desk to discuss something with the senior librarian. And put that in, and then next time you go to loan to him, you'll get the message. And then he'll know that he needs to come and speak to somebody. Okay, next. This is a good one. Can we make a report of all patrons with a certain block? Yes, you can. This is going to be done via analytics, and let's take a look at that. So we'll go from here to Design Analytics, just to get into the analytics. And this is going to be done inside the subject area, Users, New Analysis, and Users. So we're choosing Users. And then there's a whole section here. Hold on, let that open. Give me a chance to take a sip of my coffee while that's opening. Okay, so here we've got our blocks, all our block information. Let's throw it all in right now. And I'm just going to say block description, filter not null. In other words, I want only those which do have a block description. In other words, it's not empty. This is my own environment, so I can put in the usernames, the first name, last name. It's no one's personal, no library's personal stuff here. Let's put in his user groups also. And let's put in his job description. That should cut it. Go over the results. Okay, so these are the people. For example, Thomas V.X. Merluzzi, an undergraduate student. He consistently returns books late, and this is his username. Let's go take a look at Thomas Merluzzi. Order line, users. Spelled his name wrong. Merluzzi. Okay, and if we go into him, look at Thomas, and we go look at his blocks. Yeah, he's got blocks since 2008. Consistently returns late and is blocked from making a hold request. That's Thomas Merluzzi. We can also make our report have only a certain type of block. For example, let's say we want, in the Criteria tab, we'll say block description filter is equal to, oh, where do you see the OBIEE 11.1.1.7? It'll be really nice, you'll see. I'm going to do it on the type. Sorry about that, the note. Filter, okay. Here we can say, I want only those who consistently return books late. And now we run it. Okay, so now we've got Susan Stornoway. Where do you see Susan? She's been around for a long time. Stornoway. She's been around so long that her block is still from migration. Look at that. It was created by Aleph, July 27th, 2005 at 3 a.m., and it's still in here. Anyway, enough nostalgia. That's how we can create a report of all patrons with a certain block. It can be done via the analytics in the subject area users. Any questions or comments there? Back to the participant list. No questions or comments. Okay, I'm a little concerned here, everyone's so quiet. Can I get a little hand raise? Everyone's still around? Okay, Judith and Unilink. How about you, Shirley Margaret? Julie is with us. How about Yiran, Binzang? Barbara's with us. Binzang and Yiran. Are you with us? Okay, everyone's with us. Next. In the table, oh, this is also a good one. They're all good ones. In the table block preferences, in the actions column, there is a parameter override by manager. What is the meaning here of manager? Is this a role or a privilege somewhere? Okay. Let's take a look at what we mean here. Let me first of all clean up Bobby Brady. Babu and Bobby. Okay. Actions, edit. Blocks, actions, delete. Okay, he's clean. Save. And Bobby Brady is an alumni. Right now we have defined here, fulfillment configuration, loan limits. Let's say alumni, I believe alumni are limited to 2 anyway. Yes, alumni are allowed to loan up to 2 items. So let's take Bobby. Let's loan him 2 items. B-O-B-B-Y-B. And let's take a quick look here for something with item in place in the main library. Here we go. 20th century American poetry about libraries, edited and with a prefix. Preface. Okay, select that one. He's got 1. Override that. And 1 more. We're just going to get him to his limit. A practical guide for implementing secure intranets and extranets and phishing nets. Okay. Intranet, extranets, and phishing nets. Done. Okay, so he's at his limit. Now, the question, what is meant by override by manager? What is the manager? Let's go take a look here. Fulfillment configuration menu, block preferences. And item patron loan limit exceeded. Right now, it says override by manager. Let's try something. I'm now logged in as Joseph Smith, and it says override by manager, and I give it a try. Manage patron services, B-O-B-B-Y. And I can override. He's overdone his limit, and I can override. On the other hand, oh, sorry about that. Let me just log in as someone else. Now I'm going to go in as, instead of Joseph Smith, I'm going to be Tom Smith. Tom Smith is going to try the same thing. Manage patron services, B-O-B-B-Y. Tom Smith, he can also override. Oh, what's going on here? He can also override. Tom Smith and Joseph Smith can both override. Cancel. Why is that? Again, configuration menu, block preferences, loan limit exceeded, override by manager. What is a manager here? If we go to the main library, to the circulation desk, we're here at this main circulation desk, main library, main circulation desk. When it says override by manager, it means that that person is defined here in the 3rd column as a circulation desk manager. In other words, these users here this one here, Asaf, for example. Any of you know Asaf? He's not a circulation desk manager. He's not allowed to override. Joseph Smith, on the other hand, Joseph Smith is a manager, and therefore he is allowed to. Okay, that's that. It's 8:47. I would like, please, to show that last one that I said I'm going to save to the end about the item does not belong to this institution. How are books in the consortia charged out? I would like now to spend a little time on this one, and that should bring us to the end. Let me just quickly answer this last one here. Do any of the override options in the table block preferences influence the self-check machines? The answer is no. None of these configuration menu. Oops, got to go into the institution. None of these influence the self-check machine. Override by manager, by all, block, operator, do not influence the self-check machine. Okay, now, I'm going to show you a PowerPoint for this one. We're not going to use the PowerPoint. We're going to use real demos. However, I'd like to show you for the part about the explanation. So right now, we're talking about a situation like in the question here. Item does not belong to this institution seems to be a block that cannot be overridden. Let's say, for example, we have 37 institutions, and institution A has item barcode 123, and in institution B, a patron wants to loan it. We have two options there. Option one might be that we're going to do a resource sharing request, or depending on what is meant here exactly, it might be that the patron from institution A wants to loan it at institution B, and that's what we're going to show right now. So let's look at our situation here. 10 minutes left. Okay, let me move along here. So we have a situation like this. We have a network or a consortia. And I know that at least one group on the line now is a consortia. So just for simplicity, instead of having 37 or 164 or a different number, we have three institutions. We have the University of Knowledge, the Open University, and Alma University. And we have a patron who does exist in the Open University. In fact, I'm going to put on my sunglasses and go to the Open University. Why do I say I've got to put on my sunglasses? Look at this nice green fluorescent, which is the background branding we did here for the Open University. Let me pop into the Open University for a moment. Pop in. Interesting phrase for popping into an environment. Play. Okay, so right now, let that log in. There she goes. At the Open University, Samantha Stevens does exist. If, however, let's choose a different browser, I go to the University of Knowledge, and we do a similar search here. Sorry about that. Scanning directory. Okay, so now we're going to go to University of Knowledge. Play. Okay, here we're going to do the same search. They're all part of the same network zone. When we do a search in either place, We see we're part of a network zone, and it's the same network zone. And here, Samantha Stevens does not exist. In here, so let's just write this down here. We have Samantha exists in OpenU. Samantha not exists at U of Knowledge. Item at U of Knowledge. So she wants to borrow something from the University of Knowledge. So what does she want to borrow at the University of Knowledge? Where am I now? University of Knowledge. Let's just find any item in the default circulation desk here. Excuse me for using my name here, but these are examples I know I've got going on here. The history of library and information science. Okay, and that's an item in place. So this one here exists here. Okay, let's go on. So we saw she doesn't exist at the University of Knowledge. She does exist at the Open University. Now she goes over to the University of Knowledge. We're going to call here the University of Knowledge the host institution. She's going to another institution for the purpose of loaning something. Now, at the host institution, here in my fulfillment configuration menu, I can set up various rules. Here they are in the, where's the linking article form? Someone yell it out. How come I'm not? Oh, it's in the user. Every time I do that. It's in the user configuration menu, linked account rules. Okay. So here we can set up rules. And here I have a rule which states, if the source institution is Open University, then make my user group whatever, and my expiration date whatever. I can also take the expiration date from the source record and make it be a week before, a month before, the same, etc. Or I can make it a hard-coded date. Okay. I didn't make any changes here. We're just going to cancel it. Wonderful. Now, she comes into the library, Samantha Stevens, and she wants to loan. This is what we call a walk-in. So we come along, Open University says, hey, I want to loan here. Look, I have a history of library and information science. I'd like to loan it, please. And I say, okay, just one moment, please, miss. And I say, oh, Samantha Stevens, what's your ID? Samantha S613? I don't see it in here. Let's make sure. Yeah, I don't see Samantha S613 in here. And she says, oh, yeah, that's because I'm from the university. I'm from the Open University. I said, oh, okay. So then I'm going to choose Find in Other Institution. She says, I'm from the Open University. I say, oh, okay. Excuse me. And then I stick her in here. Find user, it copies all of her information right into here. Now, what we have here is a very interesting combination. We have data created on the fly in the University of Knowledge, such as the user group and the expiration date, which we saw came from my rule. Then we have information which was copied from the Open University to the University of Knowledge, and that's, for example, her address and her email and her first name and her last name. And all of this is linked to the Open University. This is not a local, you can see on the top here, it's not a local patron. It's linked to another institution here, and if it changes in the other institution, it will update here at the time of loan. In other words, if now in Open University, Samantha got married and changed her name to Samantha Stevens-Brown, next time I loan it to her at the University of Knowledge, it will also update. Okay, so that's it. And now I can loan to her whatever it is, provided she has permissions and all that. I made her external patron, so I need a fulfillment rule that's going to cover external patron. Requested by another patron, I don't care. And we're going to loan it. Samantha's more important than that other patron who requested it. And now it's loaned. So, and if we look at her now, general information, you can see that it comes from here, and this is the linking ID. Okay, let me just try one thing before that question, because I've never actually tried it. It's a new feature. I'm going to try it live. Let's say Samantha has a middle name. Samantha some kind of middle name, Stevens Save. Now, trying this live. Most people never try something they didn't, they've never checked before live, but we like to live on the edge here. So now, we're going to loan to her again, Samantha. Loan to her whatever. We'll find anything in place. Okay, that's spinning around up there. The item in place. Select. Okay. We loaned it. Let's go take a look at her. Okay. All right. Now we had a question here, participants, chat. Can you limit the data that is copied from the home library? I don't believe you can limit which data is copied from the home library. There's something you would not want copied, or would you mean you want it to be created on the fly, or you want it to be empty? Can you give an example? Okay. Oh, one library, cannot share addresses. Oh, that's interesting. The address might be private information. I could see where that could be an issue. Yes, I could definitely see. So you would want the address not copied. That's interesting. As far as I know, that's not possible. It hasn't been encountered, let's say, by the 3 consortiums who are either live or at late stages of implementation at this stage. Let me just take one quick look here. You would not want the address copied. And no, address, as far as I know, is always going to be copied. I assume, you know, depending on needs, something could be changed, perhaps. But address is copied now. Okay, I see that brings us to 9 o'clock. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. This will be recorded, and this has been recorded, and we'll send out the recording. It was much quieter than normal session. I hope everything's okay with everybody. Everyone's just getting back into the swing of things, I assume, after these holidays. And we look forward to seeing everybody at a future session. Have a nice day.